Have you ever sat in silence at night, listening to your own breath, and wondered what truly weaves the fabric of your destiny? The winds that pass, the rivers that rush, the stars spinning quietly in the sky, they all seem to carry a hidden rhythm, a secret symphony that we are part of, whether we realize it or not. The ancients called it karma, not as a threat, not as a shadow that follows us forever, but as a natural law, gentle and vast, like the breath of the earth and sky. In Buddhism, karma is not just a philosophical idea. It is a living truth. Like the air, you cannot see it, but you breathe it every second. Karma is the invisible ripple created by every thought, every word, every action. When you smile at a stranger, a wave of warmth is released. When you harbor anger, a heavy wave is sent out. These waves don't disappear. They resonate, respond, intertwine, and eventually return. This is how karma whispers into the threads of our fate. Imagine a river. It flows from high in the mountains, winds through valleys, curves around hills. Along the way, it touches small pebbles, then runs into larger stones. Each pebble and stone shifts the current a little sometimes, just a gentle ripple, sometimes a sudden bend. Our lives are the same. A fleeting thought that seems harmless. A small, unexpected action, all of it shifts the current of destiny. And like the river, our fate is not fixed. It can bend, expand, or narrow, depending on what we place along the journey. That is the greatest hope karma offers. If everything were already decided, all we could do is bow our heads and accept it. But karma is not a cold sentence. It is a mirror that reflects who we are, and at the same time, it gives us the chance to change. Every moment is a fork in the road, a chance to plant a new seed. When you choose compassion over anger, when you choose to listen instead of rushing to judge, you are placing a new stone in the riverbed, guiding the flow in a new direction. That means even if you were lost yesterday, today you can take a different step, and tomorrow can open into a wide and beautiful field. Karma is not just a personal matter. It is a symphony of the collective. Each person is an instrument, and every sound we make becomes part of a greater melody. A wrong note may jolt the harmony, but it also teaches us how to tune our strings. When we do good, we not only lighten our own hearts, but add harmony to the music of humanity. When we cause harm, the music falls out of tune, and sooner or later, we will be called to adjust. Like an orchestra constantly practicing, the universe patiently teaches us how to play the right notes. I remember a line from Psalm 25:14. The Lord confides in those who fear him. He makes his covenant known to them. That verse shines a light on the path of cause and effect. Karma, like a sacred covenant, doesn't come to bind us, but to remind us that every action carries meaning, and we are never alone in learning its lessons. The universe remembers every sound, every movement, every breath, and gives back not to punish, but to help us understand what we are planting and what we are reaping. Think of a morning. You step out into the world with a heavy heart. A driver honks behind you and you respond with frustration. That irritation spills into your whole day. But if that same morning you choose to smile instead of getting angry, that gentle wave might reach someone else, prompting their smile in return and then another. The wave is small, but it doesn't stop. It keeps moving, far beyond your sight, like ripples across the surface of a lake. You may never know it, but your smile might be the reason someone didn't break that day. There is something magical hidden in this principle. Karma doesn't just record our actions, it sees our intentions. If you give with selfish motives, the wave you send is different from when you give with genuine compassion. Karma never makes mistakes. It is like a mirror reflecting the truth of our inner being, which means each of us is writing our own symphony. No one else can write it for us. Many people fear karma as punishment. But think about this. If you were lost in a forest with no signs to guide you, you would wander endlessly. Karma is that signpost. It shows us where we've stepped right and where we've gone wrong. It doesn't judge, it guides, like a patient teacher, repeating the lesson until we truly understand. And because of that, we grow, we change, and eventually, we step into freedom. But here is another truth. What we plant today doesn't just touch our own tomorrow. It touches the world. A kind word can spark a wave of compassion. A selfish choice can sow division in a community because we do not exist alone. Each soul is a thread, And all of us are weaving the great tapestry of life. When you tug one thread, the whole fabric moves. When you dye one string, the color spreads through the entire design. Perhaps that's why some people feel overwhelmed. How can we live knowing every word and every gesture carries weight? But imagine this. If you hold a seed in your hand, would you plant it in barren soil or in fertile ground? Every action is like that seed. You get to choose. And that choice is the greatest power the universe gives us. Not some distant deity decides our fate, but we do. With every thought, every action, every moment. Someone once asked, if karma really works, why do the wicked prosper while the good suffer? It's a deep question, but the answer is simple. The river doesn't stop at one bend. It keeps flowing. What we see today is just a slice of the journey. The ripple may not have returned yet, but it will. And when we understand that, we stop seeing life as unfair and start seeing it as a slow but just unfolding, where every action eventually finds its response. As you listen to this, maybe a question is rising in your heart. Can we redirect the river? The answer is yes. Every breath you take, every choice you make is an opportunity. Karma doesn't lock doors. It opens countless paths and invites you to walk. All you have to do is choose the one that is truly yours. And when you begin to feel that quiet flow, you will find a new doorway opens not just a personal story, but a deep connection to all beings. And from that place of connection, an ancient legend echoes, telling of a burden not truly ours, yet carried as a symbol of destiny for countless souls. There is a legend that has lived in human memory for thousands of years, both as a warning and a mirror reflecting our desires and mistakes. It is the story of Atlas, the mighty titan, with shoulders as wide as mountains and a strength that could shake the sky. He is not just a figure from Greek mythology, but a symbol of us all souls who sometimes believe we can carry the weight of the world, even the burdens that were never ours to bear. The story goes that long ago, the Titan's ancient beings, powerful and proud, rose up against the gods of Mount Olympus. The battle shook the universe. Swords clashed like thunder. Lightning flashed from the whip of Zeus, and the heavens trembled. Atlas, a famed general, strong and clever, stood at the front lines of the Titans. But no matter how mighty they were, the Titans were eventually defeated by the power of the new gods. Then Zeus, with eyes cold and unforgiving, pronounced Atlas's punishment, to carry the sky on his shoulders forever, never to set it down. Not because Atlas started the war alone, nor because he was the worst among them, but because Zeus wanted to make him a symbol. From that moment, Atlas stood alone, his massive frame bent under the endless weight, suspended between heaven and earth, the eternal pillar of the universe. Within that punishment lies a lesson not just for mythology, but for us today. Atlas bore a burden that was not his alone, and in our own lives, we often repeat his fate, taking on responsibilities, pain, and mistakes that belong to others, as if by doing so we can save them. But in truth, we are only losing our own journey. Look around in life. A child tries to live out the unfulfilled dreams of their parents. A husband or wife carries every wound, every responsibility, thinking endurance will save the family. A friend constantly rushes to put out fires caused by someone else's mistakes, afraid that if they don't, the friendship will fall apart. And in each of these cases, we slowly become Atlas, our shoulders weighed down, our freedom gone, forgetting that life is meant for us to walk our own path and learn our own lessons. Karma flows like a river that never stops, and every soul must learn to steer their own boat. When we try to steer for someone else, we don't just exhaust ourselves, we rob them of the chance to learn how to swim. Atlas was forced by Zeus. But we, more often than not, take the burden willingly. Yet the outcome is the same shoulders too tired to reach forward. A soul tied to a lesson that isn't ours to learn. Psalm 37:4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." That verse gently reminds us that true joy and real desire bloom when we walk our own path, not when we get lost in someone else's. Joy doesn't lie in saving everyone. It lives in the honesty of fulfilling the mission our soul came here to do. When we find happiness in simply standing in the right place, the world around us is blessed by that balance. Picture Atlas as a mirror. He stands still, back hunched, eyes forever cast downward, never able to look up at the stars. And we too, when burdened with what isn't ours, forget to look up. We lose sight of the vast sky calling us into freedom. We no longer hear our heartbeat. We forget why we were born. And so we become a symbol of endless suffering instead of a symbol of awakening. Karma does not ask us to carry someone else's burden. On the contrary, it invites us to know the boundary, what is ours to carry and what is not. Atlas, in his endless sorrow, is the reminder of the price we pay for holding what does not belong to us. And the question quietly arises in our heart, how many times in this life have we become Atlas? Maybe you felt it too: heavy shoulders, a weary heart, a soul being pulled down. Not because of your own path, but because you're holding the weight someone else handed you. And you've forgotten that the choice is still yours. You can set it down. You can smile and say, "This is not my path." And in that moment, your shoulders are free and your eyes can finally see the sky again. But that journey is not easy. We were taught from a young age that sacrifice is love, that suffering is noble. Yet true love is not about doing it all for others. It's about allowing them to grow through their own mistakes. Just like a father teaching his child to walk, he cannot walk for them. He can only stand close, ready to catch them if they fall. Karma is the same. It requires each soul to walk, to stumble, to learn. No one can carry that lesson for us. If the image of Atlas stirs something within you, let that realization be something you share. When you touch the like button, when you retell this story, when you join the journey with others, you are adding a gentle ripple to the river of karma. Each act of sharing not only nourishes your own heart, but may light the way for someone who's lost and tired. When we pause before the image of a titan bent under the weight of the sky, the question rises again in the stillness. How can we avoid becoming Atlas in our own lives? The answer lies in awareness, in the art of knowing when to stop and knowing where the boundaries are. Because only when we understand what is ours to carry and what we must let go of, can we step into true spiritual freedom. And then, like a soft wind passing through, a new thought appears. Perhaps in learning to set boundaries, we uncover a deeper wisdom, a quiet art of the soul, where love does not mean carrying someone else's burden, but means offering freedom and clarity, both to them and to ourselves. There are moments when we pause, look around our lives, and suddenly realize sometimes the weight on our shoulders isn't fate, it's something we chose to carry. We love too deeply, we worry too much, we fear others might stumble. And so, we voluntarily step into the role of Atlas, carrying a sky that was never ours to bear. Sooner or later, we must face the question, which burdens are truly ours, and which ones belong to someone else? When we blur that line, the confusion becomes an invisible chain. Not only does it drain our energy, it also blocks others from learning their own lessons. Imagine a mother who constantly shields her grown child from the consequences of their mistakes. She believes she's loving them, but in truth, she is unknowingly taking away their chance to truly grow up. She is carrying their karma, and in doing so, both souls become entangled. Karma is a fair and patient process. Each person is given the opportunity to learn and grow through their own challenges. When we interfere, we not only disrupt their rhythm of learning, we throw the entire symphony off key. Sometimes, true compassion is not about carrying someone else's weight, but about standing still, looking into their eyes and saying, "This is your path. I believe you are strong enough to walk it." We often confuse support with substitution. Support is reaching out a hand when someone wants to rise. Substitution is carrying them so they never learn how to stand. A soul cannot grow through permanent shelter. It only grows through trial, through falling, through finding its own way to rise. There is a powerful image that reflects this truth. A river is meant to flow its own course. If we try to block it or redirect it, we don't just damage the river, we flood the land around it, or leave it dry and lifeless. The same goes for karma. Each person has their own flow, their own direction. When we carry their burden, we are forcing that current against nature. I'm reminded of a verse from Psalm 119 to 105. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. It gently reminds us that while light can guide us, it does not walk the path for us. It only shines so we can choose where to step. And in the same way, true love is not about carrying everything for someone. It is about lighting the way and letting them walk it. In today's world, we see countless examples of people taking on karma that isn't theirs. A capable employee constantly fixes a colleague's mistakes, only to end up burned out while the other never learns. A kind friend always pays the debts, always comes to the rescue, and ends up with nothing left for themselves. These acts may appear noble, but in truth, they slow down the soul's journey for everyone involved. Karma doesn't ask us to be saviors. It asks us to be honest, awake, and aware of our boundaries. Boundaries are not selfish. They are respect for the law of the universe. When we let others face their own lessons, we honor their path. When we refuse to carry what's not ours, we honor ourselves. This is the wisdom karma offers us. And as you listen to these words, maybe a face is forming in your mind, someone you have carried too much for. Look deeply at that image. Ask yourself, if I keep carrying this for them, am I making them weaker? Am I keeping them from learning what they need to learn? The answer might be startling, but it could also be the first step toward letting go. And when we do let go, something beautiful happens. Our shoulders feel lighter, our hearts open wider, and the other person, even if they stumble at first, even if they blame us, will eventually learn to stand on their own. Letting go is not abandonment. Letting go is trust. Trust that every soul carries a hidden strength just waiting to be awakened. You see, this isn't just some distant philosophical idea. It's a reality we face every day. How many times have you become Atlas? How many times have you forgotten that you have the right to choose? How often have you told yourself, if I don't do it, they'll suffer, only to become the one suffering most? Maybe now you are being invited to set that weight down, to walk gently again on your own path. And if these words touch something within you, if the story of karma, of Atlas, of sacred boundaries awakens a quiet truth in your heart, then don't let it stay hidden. Share it. A simple click to like. A moment to pass it on to someone who needs to hear it. A choice to join this journey with us. These are not just actions on a screen. They are ripples you send into the river of karma. And those ripples, sooner or later, will return as light, as joy, as clarity. Yet the question remains, how do we set boundaries without becoming cold? How do we love without taking on the burden? The answer lies in the quiet art of the soul, the art of clarity, of compassion without attachment. And as you step into this art, you will discover that true love does not bind, it liberates. There is something incredibly delicate, yet profoundly firm, the invisible boundary between helping and taking over. So often, we believe we are reaching out to save someone, but unknowingly, we pull our own soul into a spiral of exhaustion. Every time we take on a burden that doesn't belong to us, we not only disrupt the rhythm of our own life, we also strip the other person of their chance to grow. That is the hidden danger in confusing compassion with over-identification. Imagine a garden. In that garden, each person has their own plot of land to tend, to plant, to care for. If you constantly step into someone else's garden, watering their soil, pulling their weeds, it may look lush at first, but eventually, you burn out, and they never learn how to care for it themselves. The day you stop, that garden wilts, because its owner never learned to stand on their own. That is the true image of carrying another's karma. What seems like love is actually weakening them. Karma never makes mistakes. It flows like a river, rises like the sun, steady and sure. It is the rhythm every soul must walk through in order to mature. When we interfere, it's like trying to redirect the sun or bend a river's course. In the end, we only create chaos for them and for ourselves. Have you ever seen a capable employee constantly covering for a struggling coworker? At first, that coworker escapes consequences, but over time, they stop trying. Meanwhile, the capable one grows bitter, burned out, feeling taken for granted. That's not just a workplace issue, it's karma at work. One loses the chance to grow, the other loses themselves. It's the same in spiritual life. If you keep pulling someone out of their lessons, eventually both of you will fall into imbalance. You become drained, they become dependent, and both are delayed on the path of evolution. The true tragedy isn't falling, it's never being allowed to fall, and therefore, never learning how to rise. Psalm 37:4 reminds us, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." That verse speaks not only of joy, but of a sacred truth. Each soul must find its own delight in its own journey. We cannot borrow that joy for someone, nor can we give it by living their life for them. Each person must harvest what they've sown, and that is the beautiful fairness of karma. But this may be the hardest truth of all. How do we love without being consumed? How do we help without becoming another Atlas? The answer lies in spiritual boundaries. A boundary is not a cold wall. It is a sacred marker that protects both you and the other. When you set a boundary, you are saying, I love you, and I also respect your path. I won't rob you of your lessons. I will walk beside you, but I won't walk in your place. Remember, true love never imprisons. It liberates. When we love with clarity, we do not cling. We do not carry. We give the other person our trust that they are strong enough to find their way. And in that trust, they discover their strength. And we, in return, reclaim our freedom. Can you feel the difference? A helping hand is not the same as a binding hand. When you help, you offer support, but allow them to stand on their own. When you carry, you make them a burden, and you become a prisoner of your own mistaken kindness. Letting go is not selfish. It is humility. It is the moment you accept that you are not the creator, that you do not have the power or the right to fix someone's entire life. All you can do is shine your own light. Whether they choose to walk in that light is up to their soul. Here is the stunning truth. When you learn to set boundaries, you don't just save yourself. You offer others the chance to become strong. When you say, this is my limit. I cannot walk this path for you, but I believe you can. You set both of you free. That is mature love. That is wise compassion. Maybe right now, you're thinking of a situation in your life, a friend, a family member, a coworker, where you've been carrying too much. Listen to your heart. What is it telling you? Is it tired? Is it longing to let go? If so, that is the quiet signal from within, inviting you to draw a boundary for your soul. And this may be the moment you start to notice subtle signs from the universe. When you choose balance, sacred symbols begin to appear, signs that you're not alone. One such sign is the number 222, a message of harmony, a whisper that says, you are supported, you are not alone. If you keep seeing 222 on the clock, on a receipt, in passing, know that it is a divine confirmation. You are on the right path. You are learning the sacred art of boundaries, and the angels are walking with you. If this number resonates with you, let your heart acknowledge it. Feel free to comment 222 as your way of saying, I've heard the message, because support doesn't only come from above, it comes from community, from those walking the spiritual journey beside you. But this is only the beginning, because setting boundaries isn't just an action, it's an entire way of living, an art form that calls you to care for your body, your mind, your spirit, so that your light can shine clearly. An empty cup cannot pour water, and a weary soul cannot be a light to others. There is a simple truth, often forgotten. We cannot give what we do not have. A soul that is drained cannot light the way for another. A heart still wounded and unhealed cannot fully offer comfort to someone else. That's why, in order to truly love, to help without becoming a burden bearer, we must learn a fundamental yet profound art, the art of self-care. Many people are surprised when they hear this. Isn't taking care of ourselves selfish? Weren't we taught that giving is the highest virtue? But imagine a candle that has never been lit. How can it ignite another flame? In the same way, when we nourish our body, mind, and spirit, we are not just filling our inner reserves, we are creating a clear and vibrant light that can reach much farther than any blind sacrifice ever could. Caring for the body means listening to your heartbeat, your breath, your need for rest and nourishment. It's not indulgence. It's respect for the sacred temple your soul inhabits. When the body is cared for, the mind softens, and the soul opens more easily to receive the light. Caring for the mind means learning how to pause in stillness, to quiet the noise that constantly pulls us away from our center. Meditation, prayer, or simply sitting beneath a tree, breathing with the rhythm of the earth. All of these are medicine for the mind. In stillness, we find balance, and we remember, we don't have to carry the whole world. Caring for the soul is a quiet, yet magical act. Reading a page of something that inspires, listening to music that stirs the heart, giving thanks for small blessings. Each of these moments waters the deep roots within. And when the soul is nourished, inner light begins to shine outward, lighting the path not just for us, but for those who walk beside us. This is where true love begins. When we are full, our help is no longer a burden, it becomes a gift. When we are steady, our hand doesn't shake, it lifts with strength. When we care for ourselves, we stop trying to prove our worth by carrying others. Instead, we shine naturally, like the sun which warms everything without trying. There is wisdom hidden here. Self-care is also a form of good karma. Every time we love ourselves, we plant the seeds to love others from a place of wholeness. But when we pour from emptiness, when we give blindly without tending to ourselves, what we sow is resentment, fatigue, even quiet anger. And those seeds grow in the soil of our relationships. Psalm 46:10 echoes gently, "Be still and know that I am God." Perhaps self-care is exactly that, a sacred invitation to pause, to be still, to return inward. In stillness, we realize we are never alone. We are held by a greater love, by invisible hands that lift us. And from that knowing, we can move forward no longer obsessed with saving everyone, but simply being present. The modern world tells us to run faster, do more, give more. But the universe does not measure our worth by how often we sacrifice. It measures our radiance, and that light only shines brightly when it flows from fullness. Imagine a spring. If its source dries up, the river withers. But if the source is cared for, it nourishes an entire forest. We are the same. When we care for ourselves, we become a pure stream that nourishes others naturally. Maybe you feared that setting boundaries or caring for yourself would make others think you're cold. But the truth is, when you stand strong, when you radiate peace, you inspire others far more than any words ever could. They see the light in you, and it awakens the light in them. That is the power of self-care. It doesn't end with you. It spreads like fire. And along this journey, signs from the universe begin to appear. One of those signs is the number 555, the number of great change. A message that says, it's time to shift. When you begin letting go of burdens that aren't yours, when you choose to care for yourself, you step into transformation. 555 shows up as confirmation. This is the turning point, the moment to break the old cycle and open a new door. If you're seeing 555 around you on receipts, in dreams, on the clock, when you glance up, know that the universe is whispering to you. If it resonates in your heart, feel free to leave a comment with this number. It's your way of saying, I'm ready for the shift. Because every time you share, you not only affirm it for yourself, you inspire someone else searching for the same sign. And then, a gentle question arises. Once you begin to care for yourself, once your inner spring flows again, what seeds will you plant in the world? Because self-care is only the foundation. From that foundation, you will learn to live mindfully, to plant good karmic seeds in even the smallest actions, so that one day, the harvest blooms radiant with light, peace, and harmony. There is a gentle yet profound truth. The world is woven from the tiny seeds we plant each day. Every word, every gesture, every seemingly insignificant thought becomes a seed of karma that will sooner or later blossom into the experiences we encounter. Taking care of ourselves helps us stand strong. But it is mindful living that sows the seeds for a future harvest of blessings. Picture a morning garden. In the soft mist, small seeds are quietly planted into the soil, humble, almost invisible. No one would think those tiny seeds could one day become a field of flowers. But in time, with light and water, the seeds break open, the green sprouts rise, and life fills the space. Karma flows the same way. A smile, a look of encouragement, a quiet act of kindness, all of these are seeds, planted and patiently waiting to bloom. The wonder of it all is this. Good seeds often spread further than we ever imagine. You smile at a stranger, and they feel lighter. They pass that smile to another. The chain ripples outward beyond what you can see. One kind word might shift someone's mood for a day, a month, or even change their life. The universe records every vibration, and one day, it comes back like a bird returning home to its nest. To live mindfully is to live with that awareness that no action is ever too small to matter. Every breath, every step carries creative power. When you light a candle in the dark, you don't just see the way for yourself, you light the path for others too. When you hold back a harsh word and speak gently instead, you may not only save a relationship, but break a cycle of karma that could echo through generations. As Psalm 119:105 says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." Mindfulness is just like that lamp. It lights up each step we take and shows us the seeds we are planting. When we walk in light, we no longer scatter seeds unconsciously. We sow them with love, with awareness. Modern life urges us to move faster, to do more, to give more. In that whirlwind, it's easy to forget that a single pause, a single deep breath, can shift the direction of an entire day. Mindful living doesn't ask us to escape the world or retreat into the mountains. It simply invites us to be fully present. When washing your hands, feel the water. When eating, give thanks. When speaking, be mindful of your words. Each act of presence is a silent prayer, a seed of peace. And as more peaceful seeds are planted, your life becomes a fragrant garden where others may rest in your shade. Remember, karma does not just record our actions, but our intentions. You can give a gift, but if your heart is calculating, the seed will grow in a different way. On the other hand, a small gesture done with pure love can become a great tree that shelters many. The universe sees it all, nothing is missed, and always responds according to the essence of the seed. Think of this simple example. You see someone sitting in silence, lost in sorrow. You may not have much to give, but you ask gently, "Are you okay?" They look up, eyes teary, and in that moment, they feel less alone. You walk away, but that seed remains in their heart, growing into the courage they need to go on. And one day, when you're tired, another hand will reach out to you, the silent return of a ripple once sent. Mindful living also means being aware of the seeds not to sow. A harsh word, a burst of anger, a selfish act. These too are seeds. They may not sprout immediately, but they will. And then we must reap what we have sown. But here's the grace in karma. We can always choose to plant something new. Even if your garden is full of weeds, with patience, you can clear the space and begin again. Tomorrow can still bloom. You might wonder, have I made too many mistakes? Is it too late? The answer is, it's never too late. Karma is not a closed sentence. It's a book still being written. Each new page is a chance to change the tone, change the pen, and write a new story. And as you begin to plant good seeds, you may notice sacred signs, appearing signs, to encourage you forward. One of these signs is the number 777, a number of spiritual awakening, of soul expansion, of cosmic alignment. When you see 777, it is not a coincidence. It is confirmation that you are stepping into a higher awareness, that you are now planting seeds from a deeper place where your soul dances with the light of the universe. If this number has shown up for you again and again, listen, it is an invitation to awaken, to live with greater mindfulness, to plant with wisdom instead of habit. If this resonates in your heart, feel free to leave a comment with the number 777, your way of saying, "I hear the call." And in the moment you begin sowing mindfully, you become a living example. You don't need to preach. Your peaceful presence speaks louder than any words. Others will see the way you live with stillness, with care, and feel inspired to walk that path. Because light never needs to prove itself. It only needs to shine. Then, as you look back on your garden, you will notice something beautiful. Not only have your own flowers bloomed, but so have the flowers planted by others, inspired by you. Because when one person sows mindfully, the whole community rises. When one soul awakens, the entire world is touched. And even as you plant good seeds, you may still meet the shadows of your past. Old seeds, old karma, will sprout and ask you to face them. The question is, how will you respond? Will you shrink in shame, or will you use that darkness as fuel for change? It is in that choice that the true transformation of karma begins. There is one thing that often fills the human heart with fear: the weight of bad karma we've planted in the past. The careless words, the bursts of anger, the selfish choices, the times we've hurt others, all of it like weeds silently taking root in the garden of the soul. Then one day they sprout and we stand there, overwhelmed, watching the wild overgrowth take over, feeling as though there's no way out. But here is the miracle of karma. Even in a garden overrun with weeds, you can still plant new seeds. There is no such thing as a fixed destiny. There is no stain that cannot be healed. Imagine stepping into an abandoned garden. The trees are tangled, thorns everywhere, the soil dry and cracked. At first glance, you may want to walk away, but if you stay pulling one weed at a time, watering a little each day, planting new seeds with care, that garden will slowly begin to change. Maybe not fast, but surely. Karma works the same way. No matter how heavy the mistakes, they can be transformed with patience and love. Transforming bad karma does not mean denying the past. It means looking it in the eye and saying, yes, I planted those seeds. But right after that, truth comes a new action planting different seeds. Seeds of compassion, seeds of forgiveness, seeds of gratitude. Each positive act is a thread of light, stitching back together the torn fabric of fate. Maybe you once lost your temper and spoke words that deeply hurt someone you love. You can't take those words back, but you can go to them, apologize, offer a hug, show them change through your actions. The negative energy of the past doesn't just disappear, but it can be transformed by the energy of love, like a glass of dirty water that becomes clear again, drop by drop, as clean water is poured in. Psalm 23:1 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." In these words, we are reminded that guidance and grace are always with us. Even when we stray, even when we sow the wrong seeds, the divine remains patiently guiding, offering us the chance to return. Transforming karma is not a solo act. It happens in the arms of an invisible love that never leaves. The truth is, darkness is not our enemy, it is our invitation. Darkness makes us long for light. Bad karma makes us long for change. Without the dark, we'd never recognize the power of a single candle. Without falling, we'd never know the strength it takes to rise again. Remember, bad karma is not here to punish us. It is here to teach us. It is a mirror reflecting what we once sowed. And when we gaze into that mirror, we don't need to bow our heads in shame. We only need to smile gently, nod, and say, "I understand now. I will plant something new." That is the moment of awakening. And in the journey of transformation, forgiveness is essential. Forgive others so they no longer live as ghosts in your heart. Forgive yourself so you are no longer chained to past guilt. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is freeing. It frees your heart from emotional prison. It frees the other person from karmic entanglement. When you forgive, you create a sacred space. And in that space, new seeds can take root. Seeds that grow into beauty, into healing, into peace. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door between darkness and light. This is when you begin to understand a deeper truth. Karma is not a burden. It is a gift of opportunity to learn, to change, to grow spiritually. Without bad karma, we would never know compassion. Without mistakes, we would never discover wisdom. Every shadow carries within it the seed of a new light. Watch for signs. When you begin the path of transformation, the universe will send you signals. A bird flying by at just the right moment. A kind word from a stranger. A number that repeats again and again. These are whispers saying, "You're on the right path." Maybe you felt this before in a moment of despair. You glance at the clock and see 5:55, as if the universe is whispering, "Be brave, change is coming." Or 7:77, a divine echo saying, "Step into awakening. You are ready." These sacred numbers are not random. They are the universe's codes, awakening your soul from its long sleep. If you've seen these numbers, consider them a blessing. If they speak to you now, share the number that resonates in your heart. By doing so, you're anchoring the message, helping it shine more clearly in your life. Transforming karma is not easy. It asks you to face the shadow within, but it is one of the most beautiful paths you can walk. Because with each step, you learn patience, you learn humility, you discover the healing power of love. And one day, when you look back, you will see that your garden has changed. Where once there were only weeds, now flowers bloom, and the fragrance reaches far and wide. But karma's transformation does not end with you. As you change, you inspire others. When you learn to forgive, your family is freed from bitterness. When you plant compassion, your community is uplifted. This journey was never just about one soul. It is always collective, and in that, we awaken to a greater truth. Every time we heal ourselves, we are healing the world. And now, a new door's opening the door to a shared journey, where karma is no longer just a personal story, but a sacred web connecting all life, inviting us into a greater harmony. A shared song where every soul moves together in the rhythm of light. In the infinite tapestry of the universe, every thread, no matter how small, contributes to the greater design. Each soul is like a distinct thread, carrying its own color, its own pattern, its own rhythm. But no thread exists alone. When one thread trembles, others vibrate with it. When one thread breaks, the entire tapestry feels it. That is why the journey of karma is never just a personal one. It is a collective symphony, where the transformation of one soul can light the path for many others. Imagine a family where old patterns are passed down through generations. Burdens of resentment, repeated mistakes, unhealed wounds, all carried silently from one life to the next. And then, one day, someone chooses to forgive. They decide to release the burden, instead of passing it on. In that single moment, an entire karmic cycle is broken. That act of forgiveness doesn't just heal one person, it becomes a beacon for the entire family, even for those yet to be born. This is the power of collective transformation. When one soul steps into the light, many are lifted. Compassion, forgiveness, and love are not confined within personal borders. They ripple outward, further than we can ever imagine. Each time we live with awareness, we become a vital link in the global chain of light. Psalm 133:1 says, "How good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity." This is not just an encouragement for social peace. It is a reminder of a sacred truth. Human harmony is a reflection of cosmic harmony. When we learn to live in forgiveness, in kindness, in peace, we are aligning ourselves with the greater rhythm of the universe, a song that all souls are invited to join. Picture a small community where people truly listen to each other, share openly, and heal together. When one person is in pain, others support them. When one celebrates, all rejoice. In this kind of community, karma no longer feels like a personal burden. It becomes a shared energy, where everyone plants seeds of goodness together. This is a microcosm of the universe, where no soul is isolated, but each is a note in an eternal symphony. In real life, we see this truth unfold. A single act of kindness, one person feeding the homeless, inspires another, and then a group forms, and soon, an entire city gets involved. One small seed becomes a vibrant garden. This is living proof. When one soul plants a seed, the whole community shares the harvest. The same is true on a spiritual level. When you sit in meditation and find peace within, that peace radiates outward. It touches the energy around you. It influences those you meet. When you choose forgiveness, you're not just freeing yourself, you're unlocking healing for everyone entangled in that karmic thread. And when many souls awaken and begin to release their burdens, a new energetic field is created, one that lifts all of humanity to a higher vibration. Remember, every act of compassion repairs a torn thread in the fabric of the cosmos. Every loving gesture adds color to the grand design. You are never just a grain of sand drifting alone. You are part of the ocean of light, where each drop helps create the waves. This brings a quiet invitation to look beyond yourself, to understand that what you sow affects more than just you. It touches people you may never meet. A smile you give a stranger may soften their anger, and that softness may save a relationship when they return home. A simple act from you can become a crucial link in a chain of infinite grace. And when you realize this, you'll stop seeing your actions as meaningless. You'll understand that every choice you make contributes to the collective story of humanity. Every quiet step you take can become a melody in the great cosmic song. In this shared journey, we must remember a core principle. Love does not mean carrying someone else's burden. Love means walking beside one another, offering light, offering strength. When you stand tall on your path, you inspire others to do the same. And when all stand strong together, the greater tapestry becomes radiant. The universal design gains new beauty. Perhaps right now, you feel a stirring deep within, as if your soul is remembering something it once knew but had forgotten. That you are never alone. That your journey is part of a vast, sacred unfolding. And that each of your steps is supported by unseen hands, by other souls walking beside you. In that moment, you may also begin to notice the signs around you: recurring dreams, unexpected encounters, repeating numbers. These are not coincidences. They are whispers from the universe, reminding you that you are exactly where you need to be, aligned with the rhythm of the whole. This collective journey leads us to a sacred truth. Transformation does not only happen within a single soul, it happens across all of humanity. And when that day comes, when enough souls awaken, darkness will no longer be a burden. It will become the soil from which light emerges. And in that radiant light, your soul enters a new phase, a phase of deep transformation, where you no longer just let go of karma, but become a vessel of awakening, a place where darkness becomes light, where chains fall away, and the soul merges into boundless freedom. There comes a moment on the journey when our soul is placed into fire. But this fire does not come to destroy. It comes to purify, to transform, to ignite the true essence hidden beneath the dust of time. This is the moment of deep transformation, when the old self begins to dissolve so the new self can rise, just like a seed breaking open in darkness to reach for the light. Imagine the moment a caterpillar retreats into its cocoon. From the outside, it looks still, as if it's simply resting. But inside, its old body is dissolving. New cells are forming. A new structure is emerging. The caterpillar can never return to what it was, and it doesn't yet know for sure what it will become. But the process is irreversible. And then, one day, the cocoon breaks open, wings unfold, and life knows the transformation is complete. So it is with us. When karma brings us to the edge of transformation, we cannot go back. We can only move forward into the light. This is the stage many call the dark night of the soul. All the burdens, the old karma, the long-suppressed pain rise up at once, as if the universe is asking, "Are you truly ready to change?" In that moment, we feel lost, as though we're walking through a vast darkness with no clear path. But in that very darkness, the fire of transformation burns quietly, reshaping every part of who we are. You may wonder, why must it hurt so much? Why can't transformation be gentle? The answer is this. Light shines brightest when it's born from the deepest dark. A soul becomes truly strong when it dares to face its greatest fear. Just as gold becomes pure only after passing through fire, we become radiant only after allowing our old selves to be burned away. Psalm 121:8 promises, "The Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore." These words are a soft assurance to every trembling soul walking through the night. You are not alone. Even as you pass through fire, you are held. Even as your old world falls apart, a divine presence is keeping you safe, guiding you not into emptiness, but into new light. Transformation is not just healing, it is rebirth. It is the moment you look in the mirror and know you are no longer who you once were. Your thoughts are different, your emotions are different. The way you see the world has changed. You view life through new eyes, the eyes of a soul washed clean by light, and you understand that none of the pain was wasted. Every wound was preparing you for this awakening. Think back to a time in your life when you experienced deep pain, a loss, a betrayal, a fall you thought you'd never recover from. But from that pain, you learned, you grew, you discovered a strength you never knew you had. That is the nature of transformation. Darkness becomes the soil from which your light begins to grow. Along this path, there is often a sacred sign. 999, the number of completion, the signal that one chapter of your life is closing and a new one is about to begin. When you see 999, it means you no longer need to carry the old burdens, the outdated beliefs, the relationships that no longer align. You are being invited to close the past and step into the new with a soul that is free. If 999 has been showing up in your life, take it as confirmation. Your transformation is already underway. And if it speaks to your heart right now, feel free to share that number as a way of saying, "I'm ready to end the old cycle. I'm ready to begin anew." Transformation is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real, your truest self, no longer hidden. It doesn't erase the darkness. It integrates it into the light. It teaches us that in every wound lies a seed of healing. In every mistake lies a lesson of wisdom. And when you emerge from the cocoon with new wings, you no longer see life the same way. You see the sacred connection between all things. You see that every person, whether lost or awakened, plays a part in the great human symphony. You realize that you don't live only for yourself, but for your community, for humanity, for the universe itself. This is the crescendo of the karmic journey, the place where darkness becomes light, where the old self dissolves and the new self is born. It is the moment you understand you are not just an individual soul. You are a ray of a vast and radiant Sunday. And from here, you enter a new phase, the phase of the messenger, the phase of sharing the light you've found, so you can become a lantern for others walking the path behind you. There comes a point in the soul's journey when, after passing through its own dark night, after the wings have unfurled from the cocoon, a new mission begins, the mission of sharing the light. Because light was never meant to be kept for one. It was born to spread, to illuminate, to pass from flame to flame, until the sky becomes ablaze with its glow. This is the messenger phase, when every awakened soul becomes a quiet bearer of light, offering the world what it has found. But this message doesn't always need grand speeches. Sometimes your peaceful presence is the message. When you walk into a room with an open heart, that calm spreads and softens those around you. When you live kindly, not for show, but with steady grace, you become living proof of the power of good karma. People may not hear a lecture from you, but they will see a mirror. And often, a mirror speaks more powerfully than 1,000 words. There are souls who never stand on stages, never write books, never lead movements. They simply live rightly, with clarity, with compassion, and their very life becomes a source of inspiration. A mother raising her child with love, a teacher guiding students with patience, a stranger reaching out with kindness. These are all messengers, because the message is not what we say. The message is what we are. As Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." That stillness is the source of all true messages. When you dare to be silent and listen, the message doesn't need to be created. It rises naturally from within, like the soul's whisper. The true message is never forced. It flows like breath, like water through a riverbed, like light through an open window. Imagine this: you have suffered, you have fallen, and you've risen again. Now, when you meet someone going through what you once went through, you don't need to convince them. You only need to say, "I understand. I've been there, and I believe you will get through it too." That alone is your light reaching them, because your words aren't coming from theory. They come from lived truth. Your message holds power because it's been written by your healed wounds. Often, during this phase, a sacred number appears. 111, the number of new beginnings, of gateways opening into the soul's purpose. 111 reminds you that you've entered a new chapter, one where you are called to sow seeds of light for others. When you see this number, know that the universe is affirming, yes, step forward. Your message is ready to be shared. And if this number resonates with you right now, share it. Your confirmation could be the spark that awakens someone else who's been waiting for a sign. The message is never just in the words, it's in every choice you make. When you choose kindness over cruelty, you're writing a message. When you choose forgiveness over revenge, you're writing a message. When you choose love over fear, you're writing a message. And each message is sent like a letter on the wind, finding its way into the hearts that need it. The incredible part is, you may never know who your message reaches. You simply plant the seed, and it flies with the breeze. One day, it may bloom in a distant heart, and you'll never know it. But the universe knows, and it will return to you in some form when you need it most. Allow yourself to become the vessel for the message. Don't try to control it. Don't wait to be someone special. Remember, light doesn't discriminate. It shines on everything, and you, with everything you've lived through, are already enough to be a guiding flame for someone else. Don't wait for perfection. The truest messages are born from sincerity, not flawlessness. In this phase, you'll also realize something beautiful. Sharing your light doesn't deplete you, it expands you. Just as a candle loses nothing by lighting another, your light only grows brighter as you give. This is the secret of the universe. The more you give, the more you receive. The more you share, the more you're nourished. And gradually, you'll notice you no longer live just for yourself. You become part of something larger. You speak not to impress, but to love. You act not for recognition, but to plant seeds. And you show up not to shine alone, but to join your light with others, making the whole sky glow. Look back on the journey, from the silent river of karma, to the burden of Atlas, to learning boundaries, to self-care, to planting seeds, to transforming darkness, and now you stand in the light, bearing the message. The path wasn't easy, but it prepared you to become a lamp, and this lamp now lights the way not just for you, but for all those still walking through the dark. From here, a new chapter begins, the chapter of distillation, where every lesson, every tear, every breakthrough comes together into one message, the message of your soul. And that message won't remain within you. It will ring out like a song carried across the stars, inviting other souls to begin their own journey of awakening. When a soul has passed through the fire of transformation, has found light within its own darkness, and begins to share its message with the world, that is when the message slowly crystallizes into a precious gem. This gem is not formed in an instant, but over many seasons, under pressure, through trials, through falling into the abyss and rising again. It holds both shadow and light, pain and joy, and thus radiates a singular beauty. Once crystallized, your soul's message is no longer just your own story. It becomes a universal call to humanity. It transcends personal, familial, even cultural boundaries to touch deep within every heart, the part that yearns for freedom, for love, for illumination. At this stage, your soul no longer asks, "What will I receive?" but asks, "What can I give so that the world becomes brighter?" Remember that crystallization never happens without hardship. Just as a diamond forms from immense pressure, your soul must pass through trials so that its essence may arise. And now that you have traversed those paths, now that you have reaped, your message becomes light for those who have not yet walked those roads. In Psalm 25-14 it says, "The Lord confides in those who fear him." A soul's message is much like this covenant, not random, but born of the deep bond between you and the divine, between you and the universe's rhythm. Every soul carries its own covenant. When you live true to it, that covenant becomes your message, your mission. The important thing is, your message does not have to mirror anyone else's. Some souls carry messages of forgiveness. Some carry messages of courage, of creativity, freedom, or healing. Each message is a piece of the mosaic, and when they all sound together, humanity's portrait becomes a harmonious song. You may have thought, "Who am I to carry a message for the world?" But remember, a message does not have to be grand to be sacred. Sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest power. A timely word can rescue a soul in despair. Patience in the midst of anger can save a family. A quiet act of help can become a seed planted for future generations. All of these are messages. A crystallized message means it lives within you, not just on your lips. People don't believe because you speak. They believe because you are. When they see you living in peace, in love, they sense that your message is real. And from that authenticity, they are awakened to discover their own message. On this journey, you realize something. A message is not to be forced. It is an invitation. You offer it. Those who need it will receive it. Those who are not yet ready will walk their own paths. And you smile because you understand that every soul moves in its own time. Light does not compel. Light just shines. This is also when you begin to see yourself in others. You feel their pain as your own pain. You rejoice in their joy as your own. You understand that true separation never existed. Each soul is a mirror of another. And when your message is crystallized, you become a bridge connecting those mirrors so that together they reflect the divine's great light. In that moment, you understand this truth. A message is not the destination, but the journey. Every day you live, you clarify that gem more. Every new experience adds another facet of light to it. And the more you share it, the more brilliantly it shines, the more powerfully it rings out in the world. You might imagine each crystallized soul message as a star. A single star can light one corner of the sky, but when thousands, millions of stars blaze, the night sky becomes a symphony of light. And humanity needs that now more than ever. Stars do not judge darkness. They quietly shine so others may see the way home. So here is the call for you. Let your message be sung. Let your light no longer be hidden. For every time you live true to that message, this world is healed a bit more. And when millions of souls do the same, darkness will find no place to hide. A crystallized message is not only a blessing for the world, it is a blessing to you. Because in giving, you discover that you never lacked. You are nourished by the light you share. And you realize that ultimately the karmic journey is not a ledger of debts and repayments, but a love song where every soul is invited to become an instrument, together echoing the melody of wholeness. And then, as light spreads and the message resounds, you hear a deeper call, not just to share, but to bless. to become a channel of eternal peace. It is time to close the journey, not in exhaustion, but in joyous song. There comes a moment on the spiritual journey when you no longer feel the need to struggle, no longer crave to prove yourself, no longer fear the karma of the past or worry about the future. That moment feels like the dawn after a long night, not loud or dramatic, but quietly unfolding, filling everything with light. It is the moment of blessing and closure, when the soul is wrapped in peace, and the message is no longer just words, but a silent blessing carried in every breath. When you have walked the full karmic path from awakening to the invisible river, through burdens that were never yours, learning to set boundaries, care for yourself, plant seeds of mindfulness, transform pain, rise into renewal, share your message, and crystallize it into light. The true reward is not fame or recognition. It is the deep inner release. You realize you are free, not because you control everything, but because you have learned to let go. The final blessing does not come from others. It rises from within, from the Creator, from the vast universe, all whispering in unison. You have walked, you have learned, you have returned. And in that blessing, you realize your journey was never just yours. It has helped illuminate the greater tapestry of existence. Psalm 121:8 gently reminds us, "The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore." This is the eternal blessing for every soul. When you leave to learn, He watches over you. When you return in light, He still watches over you. Not for one moment have you ever been truly alone. And now, this blessing lives in you, ready to be shared with others. Take a deep breath and imagine every inhale is a blessing. Every exhale is a blessing. You don't need to do anything more. Your mindful presence is already a blessing. When you smile, you bless. When you listen, you bless. When you walk gently, leaving no harm behind, you bless. A blessing doesn't have to be a grand prayer. It is simply the rhythm of a life lived in awareness and love. When you offer a blessing, you are not only transforming someone else, you are also being transformed. Blessings never flow in just one direction. They are like water. When you water someone else, your own hands are refreshed. When you give, you receive. And this cycle, the cycle of karma, becomes a wheel of light where all are nourished, all are lifted. Look around. So many souls are longing for a blessing. A child only needs one encouraging glance to believe they are worthy. A friend only needs to hear, "I believe in you," to find new strength. A stranger may only need your smile to remember that the world is not so cold. And you, yes, you can be the one to offer that blessing. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. Every moment is sacred. Every breath is a miracle. Maybe you think, "I'm too small. What difference can my blessing make?" But remember, one drop can ripple across an entire lake. One small light can pierce through any darkness. And when millions of drops come together, when millions of lights shine as one, the world becomes an ocean of light where darkness has no place to hide. So here is a gentle invitation. Leave your mark. It might be a story from your journey. It might be a sacred number that speaks to your heart. 111, 222, 555, 777, or 999. Whatever number resonates, let it be your way of saying, "I've heard the call. I am part of this shared song." Because each share is not just for you. It's a blessing sent into the community where countless souls are also seeking a sign. In this moment, I want you to know your journey has never been meaningless. Every wound you've carried, every tear you've cried, every smile you've given, they have all helped shape the light you now carry. And this light is not just for you. It is for the world. You've learned that karma is not a punishment, but a mirror. You've learned that you don't need to carry anyone else's burden, just walk truthfully with your own. You've learned to set boundaries, to care for yourself, to plant seeds of goodness, to forgive, to transform. You have stepped into transformation, carried your message, crystallized it into light, and now you stand in a blessing light, free, at peace. So let these final words echo in your heart. May you always find peace in every breath. May the light within you never dim, but spread and guide others home. May your journey be protected from the first step to the last, now and forevermore. And if these words touch your soul, share them. Leave a comment with what you feel, the number that resonates, or the story you're living. Because those words, Your words will become another blessing in the world, and the universe will echo back in harmony. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and remember, you are never alone. You are part of the circle of light, the circle that is spreading across this planet. And within that circle, every soul is blessed. Every soul is illuminated. Every soul is being called to become the light. Grateful that you chose to spend these moments in the light of this story. If it touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell so the next whisper of light may find its way back to you.